This is the Idabel ID80 V2 75% hot swappable mechanical custom keyboard. And this is the mini mechanical keyboard from Kmart for 20 bucks. Let's see how they compare. So I'll start off with probably the biggest deciding factor between these two keyboards for anyone watching. The Kmart one is 20 bucks. The ID80 is around $200 AUD, depending on what switches you get with it, depending on what keycaps you get with it. You could probably go for around 150. So if that's all you wanted to know, that's the price difference. Now, I'm sure you can also notice that there are two other differences with these two keyboards. The Idabel one is a 10 keyless keyboard, which means it still has the function rows across the top, arrow cluster down the bottom, and these three buttons here on the side that I've actually turned into media buttons for pausing, playing, and skipping music. The Kmart one, this is a 60% keyboard, so it doesn't have the function row across the top or the arrow clusters, but as you can see, every key that has a white font underneath it, so you see here, F1, F2, F3, arrow cluster here. If you hold down this function button, that function will be on that key. So if you want to use the arrows, hold down function, press the arrows here. F1, F2, F3, same for all the keys on the keyboard. So you're not losing any functions, you just have less keys to do those functions with. Another thing I like about the Idabel keyboard is it has a removable USB-C cable. It also came with this free coil cable. It's not the best quality, but it's free, so no complaints here. And now the Kmart keyboard, I thought that it was hot wired in so that you couldn't remove it, but it looks like there is actually some wiggle here. I haven't taken this board apart, but it looks like possibly if you take the plate off this keyboard, you may be able to access this cable under here. It's not removable from the outside, so I'm not sure why it would be that way. Maybe it was just poorly manufactured, but essentially without opening it up, you can't remove the cable. Now, another big difference between these two keyboards is what they're made out of. So you can see here the ID80 V2 is made out of aluminium. That goes the whole way around. At the bottom here, we have an acrylic bottom for the LED shine through, and we also have a massive brass weight, which makes this one chunky boy. The Kmart 20% is plastic. Not sure what type of plastic, just plastic, which makes it a lot lighter. It makes it easier to move around, easier to carry. I actually went over to a friend's place recently and took over my PC and some mice and keyboards, and I actually left this one at home because this one does the job. It's smaller, it was lighter to carry. If something was damaged in transport, not the end of the world. Whereas if anything happened to this keyboard, I would be quite upset. Now, some people might see this next point as a con, but some people might see it as a pro. The Kmart keyboard, you buy it and it's done. Everything's set up, it's built for you. You can plug it in and away you go. The ID80 V2, you buy as a kit, essentially. So you buy the plate, you buy the PCB, which is what sits inside, you buy the switches, you buy the keycap, and then you have to install the firmware onto the keyboard as well. This was my first keyboard that I ever built. It did come in a kit, so it was easier to do than some other keyboards. And it took me about 3 hours to build, not including lubing the switches, which took several hours on its own that I just did before I started building the keyboard. You don't have to lube your own switches. You can buy pre-lube switches as well if you are looking at getting into the keyboard building community. Now, the most important thing for all you Epic gamers out there, RGB. You'll notice the Kmart keyboard up here goes from yellow, red, purple, blue, and pink. This is kind of fake RGB. Those colors can't change. If the lights go off, then they're off. These keys are always yellow, they're always red. It's not proper RGB where it can just be any color. So if that is really important to you, not gonna work on this keyboard. Now, the Idabel keyboard actually does have under keycap LEDs, but they're kind of like a yellowy color. And as you can see, I don't have shine through keycaps on this keyboard, so it wasn't really an issue for me. I personally don't think that shine through keycaps really suit this keyboard, so it's not a huge loss. But the part of this keyboard I really do like is, as I showed a bit earlier, so you have this acrylic plate, it sneaks through a bit at the front, and then all across the bottom, on the sides as well, it also shines through, and the whole bottom plate is acrylic, so you just get this nice shine through the whole way through the keyboard. And that underglow there is RGB, so you can make that any color you want, brighter, you can make it duller, you can fully customize that underglow, which I love about this keyboard. Now, another thing you might not know that keyboards have is stabilizers. So under the shift key, the space bar, the enter bar, any of the longer keys, you're going to have stabilizers in there. So you can see that little brass metal thing that goes across there, and these parts on the side here, they're called stabilizers. So they keep the key stable when you're pushing it. So that way, if it's on the side, the whole key goes down at the same time. Now, Kmart board, I'll pop this off and we'll have a look at its shift key here. As you can see, there are no stabilizers in there. There are spots where there are meant to be stabilizers. It actually looks like they've been removed. I don't know why you would ever do that, but yeah, no stabilizers. So it even has the clip on the keycap for the stabilizers. So I'm not too sure why they're not in there, but they're not in there. So your keyboard, essentially, I'll put this back on. You can see it wobbles and goes down. It doesn't go down very smooth. So you will have some inconsistency with button presses, not the end of the world. Now the Kmart board has these like box blue switches here. They're boxes because of this outside part here. They kind of just help the keycaps stay on top, make them a little bit more stable so there's less wiggle, even though there is a lot of wiggle in these keycaps as well. Blue switches are a very generic gamer switch. They're loud, they're clacky, and I guess the thought process behind it is loud key equal good key. I find it super annoying. Anyone you live with will find it super annoying because I'll do a sound test towards the end of the video. You will hear how loud these are and how just like clacky they are compared to other keys. Now on the ID80, we have the Kale Creams here, and they are a much better switch. I also forgot to mention these are linear switches, so there's no bump. They just go straight down. Again, I'll go over that in the sound test at the end of the video, whereas the box switches are tactile. There's a little bump that you have to push through to fully activate the key. So I'll do a sound test now, but just remember, this is recorded through my microphone in my room, which isn't treated, being compressed through YouTube and then being played through your headphones. This is more of just a general idea and a general sound differences between the two different keycaps. And also remember, every single keyboard has a different sound profile, so the same switch in different keyboards will sound different. I should also mention the ID80 keyboard is hot swappable. What that means is you can take these switches out, you can replace them with other switches if one doesn't work. If you want to try some different ones, you don't have to do any soldering when you build the keyboard. It's just the best way to have a keyboard, honestly. Kmart one, I'm sure as you can guess, it is not hot swappable. You get what you get. I'll now flip the mic over and we'll do a sound test. I'll show you what they sound like without the keycap, then with the keycaps, and then what the stabilizers or lack of stabilizers sound like. All right, so I'm sure as you can see in here, there are a lot of differences between these two keyboards, but 20 bucks compared to 200 bucks, I don't know. I think this is quite a great beginner keyboard to start off with. The biggest downside for me is the blue switches, not because of their performance, they are just way too loud. They are unreasonably loud. From what I could see, you couldn't get them in different switches, but I'm sure there would be ones available with Reds, which is also a very popular gaming switch, but they're just not as loud. If you have any questions, guys, make sure to leave them down in the comments below. Happy to answer any questions, or if there's anything you think I missed, and I'll respond to it and try and answer any questions that are going around, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, would be amazing if you could hit a like. If you want to see more, you know, the subscribe button's also there, free to hit, but I just hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay safe out there and love you all.